Hi, crafting friends. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, a very special welcome. I've pulled together a really fun assortment of different items from Dollar Tree, IOD transfers, a variety of paints and rub-on transfers, and I'm going to show you some marvelous transformative DIYs. My name is Lisa, and again, welcome. I would love for you to consider subscribing if you haven't already. And now we'll dive in. For this first project, you'll want to choose one of the Dollar Tree arched frames. They're $1.25, easily taken apart. You see I'm removing the thin sheet of glass as well as the cardboard backing. I'm using a pretty piece of decorative paper. This was actually off the back of a card that I received, but you can use any decorative paper that you choose. I'm using one of the Dollar Tree glue sticks to adhere that piece of paper to the back of our cardboard inset. Then I'm going to go ahead and just reinsert that, and you see what a beautiful matte background that creates. Then just simply rotate those clips back in position and your frame is ready to go. The easel back makes it nice as well because it'll make it so nice for display. Now, pretty as it is, just to begin, we're going to choose one of the rub-on transfers from IOD. IOD is Iron Orchid Designs, and they have some really pretty molds and transfers and a wide variety of items for crafting. I'm not affiliated with them, although someday I would love to represent their line, but I do enjoy using their products. I'm cutting out this little bunny transfer. Now, Dollar Tree also has lovely rub-on transfers. Stickers from Dollar Tree would also work, but I'm going to show you just how easily you can create a lovely piece of artwork with this simple technique. I'm adhering the transfer to the position on the front of the glass, and I'm using the little rub-on stick that came with the set of transfers. I start by going over the entire transfer, and then I go section by section, pulling back the carrier sheet very slowly to ensure that the transfer has entirely come off the carrier sheet. If you see a little section that didn't transfer, just lay it back down and then go over it a little bit more, pulling back slowly and gently. You'll see the reveal is very pretty. And now it's peekaboo for the little bunny as you've created instant artwork against your glass. Sometimes it also works well to approach it from two different directions. As you see here, I'm peeling up from the bottom as I had already peeled down from the top. And there you have it. Quite a lovely, almost three-dimensional effect with the transfer against the glass. Here, I'm just using the smooth side of that carrier sheet to burnish that pretty design. I really love how this has turned out. Now I'm using some of the Rub and Buff. I'm applying this vintage gold color using a sponge brush, and as you can see, I'm offloading some of that paint before applying it to the contours of the frame. You want a very minimal approach. That way, you just create a pretty highlight and it accentuates the design of that arched frame. After I finished applying the Rub and Buff, I created a pretty bow using this ribbon. If you'd like to know where I purchased it, just ask me in the comments below. I had seen another crafter using it, and I thought it was very neat. It has a very crinkled texture. So I created a little bow and decorated the bottom of the frame. I love how this cheerful project turned out, and I think it will be so pretty in any spot where it's displayed. Now on to our next frame. This is also from the Dollar Tree, $1.25, and this one is also glass, but it's mirrored. And we're going to here choose another transfer. This is also from IOD, and I'm choosing this pretty pair of cardinals to go against the glass. As beautiful and melodic as they are, is it any wonder they're the state bird for 7 different states? And I think it's going to be a beautiful splash of color here against this mirror. So I'm using that rubbing tool again just to apply the transfer. And once again, just going over the whole thing. And then I'll go over section by section to completely remove it from the carrier sheet. And there you have it. This worked very well against the mirrored smooth surface. It didn't require much rubbing at all. Now I have this lovely assortment of beaded trim. I bought this from Amazon, and again, if you'd like the information, I'll be happy to provide it. Just ask me in the comments below. It's very sparkly and adds a lovely embellishment to a variety of projects. I plan to use some when I decorate some Easter eggs on an upcoming video, but you can just see how beautifully it sparkles. And I'm using some of this clear Elmer's glue from the Dollar Tree. As you can see, I'm just outlining that inner hexagonal shape around the frame. And you want to just run a very thin line of glue, and then you can lay that thin beaded chain all the way around the interior. And you see how it does just accentuate and highlight your design. I also added a pretty bow at the bottom with a totally dazzled jewel attached. Again, the options are endless. You can choose Dollar Tree ribbon and a Dollar Tree embellishment, or perhaps even a mismatched earring, a piece of broken jewelry, anything you want to embellish your frame. And now, speaking of embellishment, I have this pretty wooden box. It was a lovely birthday gift from my son, Christian. It was full of delicious chocolate. And once I ate the last piece, I knew that this box had a future life. So I'm just removing that back sticker with the calorie contents. And you can see what a lovely wooden box this is. And I thought it would be really fun to design it to be a jewelry box. So I'm using just at the top some of this wood filler to cover up the name of the chocolate that was wood burned into the top. And I'm just using a sponge brush to smooth that out and create a nice smooth layer just so that it's level with the rest of the wood. Once I allow it to dry, I'll give it a good sanding, and then you'll see the magic happen. So while it dries, we'll move on. The next project also uses a Dollar Tree mirror, and here is a pretty round one for $1.25. I'm going to decorate this mirrored frame with another transfer. This time I'm going to use a floral bouquet. Just as we did before, I'm going to lay this down in the position. It's so easy because it's a circular frame and the bouquet is so sprawling, it will fill the entire space. Now that it's in position, I'm just using that rubbing tool to adhere it to the mirror. And again, it will adhere very easily because it's such a nice smooth surface. As you rub section by section, just gently peel that carrier sheet back to reveal your most beautiful artwork. There's enough of the mirror that will show through the design that will really add to the overall effect. It's quite a dramatic effect, so easily achieved with a couple of simple supplies. Again, you could use some of the rub-on transfers that Dollar Tree sells, or even some of the beautiful floral stickers that you can find at Dollar Tree would also work well. I'm also, once I get this finished, going to add that beaded trim to that inner rim, but you can see it's quite beautiful just as it is. Here you see the rub and buff again. I'm going to use a small pouncer brush just to highlight the contours of that rim. And you see that gold, vintage gold, ties beautifully in with some of the gold berries and some of the gold in the roses. And again, just applied very sparingly, it acts as a pretty highlighter. Some of these inexpensive Dollar Tree frames really do have a lot of nice detail around the borders, and the gold rub and buff serves to highlight those contours. Now that the rub and buff was applied and dried, you see I'm adding some of that pretty beaded trim around the inner border. Once again, using that clear Elmer's glue and going just on the inside there, I'm carefully laying down that pretty sparkly chain just to go all the way around. And that will once again just add some more sparkle and shine to the design. I chose the red to highlight the red that's in the roses. And after going entirely around the interior circle, I displayed it on a small Dollar Tree easel on our entry hall table. For just a few dollars, I think this is really a pretty exclamation point. For Valentine's Day, as well as year-round, roses are always a welcome sight, as are those signs of spring, the little bunny rabbit. And now back to the box. The wood filler has dried, and I'm using some sanding paper just to smooth that out so we won't have a rough surface. And then I've got this beautiful adhesive-backed paper that I found in this pretty book. It's called The Botanist Sticker Anthology. I found this in a bookstore while visiting our son in New York, and I just couldn't resist. All of these flowers have adhesive backings, so all of the botanicals and fruits and flowers are going to be a lot of fun to use in projects. And for this project, I've chosen this beautiful watery blue floral design. And I'm going to first put some paint on the surface of the box. I've chosen this Waverly celery color, and I don't need to cover the entire box because that sticker paper is going to cover a large portion. But I did want to go around the border amply, and I'm using a sponge brush to apply the paint. I'm actually going to use 3 coats, drying in between each, because the wood is rather porous and absorbs the paint. So here you see I'm just going around putting that pretty green. Again, you could choose any paint you'd like on one of the Dollar Tree wooden boxes. This is just what I had and what I wanted to do to inspire you. I let this project evolve as I proceeded with it. Ideas just kept coming to me. Here I'm using some of the Waverly white wax, and after that green paint had dried, I'm using the Waverly wax over top. I'm now just wiping away some of the excess, and you see that creates kind of almost a watery look to that beautiful green paint. I'm using my heat gun now to dry that surface lid, and then I'm going to use the stickered paper. If you're enjoying this video, I sure would appreciate if you'd hit that like button. It really does help my channel to grow. And now I'm peeling away the oval center part of that stickered paper, and I'm going to just adhere it to the top of the box. And you'll see here how beautifully that ties in with that green paint color. When adhering stickers to the top of a wooden box, you do want to ensure that you place it carefully because it's not going to be easily removed. Here you see I'm just positioning it, and then I'll smooth it out. I actually did, though, add a little bit of glue around the edges just to hold it more tightly because that waxy surface was somewhat resistant to that adhesive. Now inside, I'm going to take another one of those sheets and I'm going to decorate the interior lid. It fits almost perfectly after being torn from that book, but I am going to use my paper cutter just to get a perfect fit and a nice clean line. So it's very easy once you measure just to go ahead and sharpen that edge, and then it will fit nicely on the inside of the box. Again, scrap paper would work beautifully, as would some of the Dollar Tree adhesive wall tiles. Now, as we go back to the top of the box, I'm using a little bit of this polyvine varnish just to go over the surface. I actually think that the Mod Podge that you can buy from Dollar Tree or the Mod Podge Glossy would have actually had a prettier effect. But sometimes I like to just try out different products that I have in my stash. So here I'm using the sponge brush to apply that. Now, this is neat. I'm going to show you a new item. This was created using FormFlex. It's like an air dry clay, but this compound is different in that the finished product has a very flexible texture. And I'm going to use this little frame made with the FormFlex to highlight a center decoration that I adhered to the middle of that oval. Next, though, I'm going to adhere some of that beautiful beaded sparkly trim all the way around the outline of the rectangular shape of the box. I actually chose 3 different colors of the trim, and I'm using that clear Elmer's glue to outline the box. After I apply that first chain of sparkle, I'm then going to do the same thing on the interior of that next row, and I'm going to apply the second color and then the third. So I'm just showing you here, going along that outer edge very carefully with the Elmer's. That clear Elmer's is nice because it does dry clear, as the name suggests, and it's very easy to dispense. This yellow is so sparkly and pretty, and I'm applying that color to the next row. You want to be sure to keep your lines nice and straight, and I've kept the chains tightly together. Banking those colors against one another really does create a vibrant effect and adds sparkle and highlights those colors that are present in the artwork. Here you see a beautiful shade of pink, and that's going to be my third interior row. Now I'm showing you how I'm adding hot glue to the back of that FormFlex frame design. I've attached another sticker to the center of our oval design, and I'm going to use this to just kind of frame that. You'll see how this adds another dimension of visual interest. So the hot glue works really well just to adhere that right in the center there. And then I'm going to accentuate that with some lavender paint. This is an apple barrel paint that I'm applying to some of the flowers and raised designs using this fine paintbrush. It makes you feel like an artist, even though all you're doing is highlighting what's already there. As you can see, I'm going around not only just the flowers, but also some of that interior detail along that border of the frame. And the more lavender color I added, the more I felt that it tied in beautifully with the overall color scheme. So I continued to add color and deepen that depth of color using also a Sharpie lavender marker. Now, as I'm allowing some of that paint to dry before adding the additional color, I'm also going around that outer border of the oval shape here, using more of that clear Elmer's. It looked a little bit like a raw edge to me, so I decided that one more row of beaded trim would enhance the design. And you can't go wrong with bling. Sometimes it just is that finishing touch that really makes all the difference. And here I decided to use that pretty yellow to tie in with the yellow in some of those flowers. It's so exciting to see projects evolve. Sometimes you get started and they take on a life of their own, and the ideas just keep developing. Now I'll show you how easy it's going to be to finish the interior in a very charming, useful way. I'm taking that piece of adhesive paper that I cut to size, and I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that to that inner lid. I decided for this to use that Dollar Tree Elmer's glue stick to adhere that paper, and it held it perfectly in place. Now I want to show you these 3 strips. I bought these in the office supply section of Dollar Tree for $1.25, and they also came with some push pins. At the time, I didn't know what I was going to use them for, but I was intrigued and I thought they were pretty. So now I have the idea. I'm going to cut them to fit in the bottom of this box. It will create a nice velvety cushioned foundation for jewelry, and I think this makes a beautiful little jewelry box. I'm cutting them all the same length as you see here and just lining them up, and that way I know they're all identical in size, and then I'm going to fit them. Amazingly, they fit perfectly side by side. The width was just right. And you can see that along the bottom here, they work really well, snugly fitting in place without requiring any glue. And oh my goodness, isn't this a wonderful upcycled project? From something that could have been treated as trash to treasure now, as a beautiful little jewelry box has been created from an empty wooden one. You can take this idea and run with it, choosing any wooden box from either Dollar Tree or other craft stores, or perhaps finding a box at a thrift store or even in your own cabinet. It's so much fun to see something and see its potential. I love this project and I'm so happy with the way it's turned out. I hope it inspires you as well to create something not only charming, but really useful that you could use or give as a gift. Here you see I've added more color to the top, as I mentioned, with that Sharpie lavender colored pen. I think that depth of color adds a nice embellishment. Which is your favorite project? I'd love to hear your comments in the comments section below. It's so much fun to get to know members of our crafting community. I have lots more planned, including working with the FormFlex to show you how easy it is to create those flexible molds, as well as to decorate another Dollar Tree frame using the cat-themed paper that you saw at the opening scenes. For you cat lovers, I think you'll enjoy it. In the meantime, do take care and God bless.